Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming today. We are working on getting people to understand what Medicare for All is, to help them understand what single payer is, and really to get the word out that this is really the direction we have to go in terms of healthcare in the United States. So as part of that effort, and I'm realizing more and more that we really have to reach out to people. We've got to go beyond the circle of people that already understand this and who already have the information and just are refining their understanding and knowledge. We've got to reach out to the people who already have health insurance, so it's not important in their life yet. So that's probably the most important reason that we're doing this canvassing. That's why we're having this canvassing party, and I'm calling it a party because I really want you to enjoy the food that I made, and I want you to have fun. I think it's important that we have fun and that we have some camaraderie in this, and because I think it'll help us feel confident, and I think it'll help us get over the fears we have about going out and talking to people when maybe we don't feel completely comfortable with all of the information ourselves. But the most important thing is that we are getting out to talk to people. So what I'd like to do first is just have everybody go around and introduce themselves and just give a quick just give a quick summary of why you are here today and why you're interested in sharing this information with other people. So I'll start with myself. I'm Jennifer Carlin. I decided that I needed to start doing something rather than just thinking about all of the problems that I'm seeing politically when I look out into the world and the amount of injustice socially that is existing. So I decided I needed to start taking some action. So 2 years ago, I joined Mid-Valley Healthcare Advocates. I'm currently on their outreach committee, and I'm trying to figure out the best ways that we can reach out to people and share this information with them.
My name is Dwayne Walrod. I'm Jennifer's husband, and I'm interested in the issue of expanding access to health care and making it affordable for everyone, partly in my own self-interest because I've had very high deductible policies and so forth that were not affordable and created a lot of out-of-pocket expense. But more broadly than that, I see many other people in the world that are in the United States that are in a much more difficult position than I am in terms of even less access. So it's definitely a problem that needs fixing, and we're doing the best we can to keep that moving forward.
And I'm here, I'm a retired nurse, and I am very interested that people do have adequate health care. And personally, I have grandchildren and children who are dealing with some of these issues who are not fully covered. And it's a worry, and especially when someone is very, very ill, and to have to worry financially that they're going to lose everything or go into debt for the rest of their lives is really not a very healing process. I think we need something that is better than what we have. And
you have a really specific story about that right now, because you should share.
Well, I do. My son-in-law suffers from cystic fibrosis, which is and he's a nurse. He works in the hospital, but he had a recent crisis and has been in the hospital in Portland for the last couple of weeks, and actually more. And he just came home from the hospital last night. And his family has just been on the brink of disaster the whole time, not knowing that he was going to survive this crisis and where that was going to leave them if he couldn't work anymore, or even if he just died. And so it's very close to home. Yes.
The other problem now is that he is all out of sick time.
Yes.
And so now they don't have his income,
right,
and they have their bills they have to pay.
And
so
that's a huge stress right now on them. It's probably the biggest stress on my sister.
I just wanted to point out, because I think this relates to some of the things that you guys said, but I spent a lot of time working on this last night. So we have a health or a spring film and form series coming up, which I'd like to pass out today during the canvassing and leave at people's doors. On the back, I kind of decided this time that I want to give people a more in-depth explanation of what we're doing with these films and why we're showing them, because I'm kind of concerned that people, oh yeah, there's a group putting on some movies, and maybe don't understand that there's a real issue behind this. It's the two questions I think that really get to the heart of the matter, which are, should everyone in the U.S. be able to get health care when they need it? And should access to medical services be based on income or employment status? You guys will have time to look at this. There's other questions too, but basically I'm saying come to the films to find out the answers to these questions. So anyway, we'll be handing that out today. We will be handing out this form, which is actually part of the script. When we do the ask for support right after that, we're going to be asking if they will call their state and federal representatives. So we'll be handing this out to people today. But so I kind of like to go over those and just take a minute and read it to yourself. So if everybody goes to step 1 introduction, also get yourself a pen and write in the things. I want you to highlight the most important point that you're making in each section. So there, you might want to say Mid-Valley Healthcare Advocates if it's easier for you to say Healthcare for All Oregon or National Nurses United. So make it simple for yourself and just practice right now in your own head. Take 30 seconds and practice in your own head what it is that you want to say to introduce yourself. You might, like I encourage my mom to say, I'm Diane Carlin. I'm a nurse. Because I think that has some, that has, yes, it does. It says to people, oh, this is a person who has worked in the healthcare field. So if there's something like that you want to say, get that in your mind right now and just take 20 seconds to do that. What is it that you're going to say, and what do you think is the most important thing on that introduction that you need to get across? I think one of the really important things is we're asking what they think.
Oh, yes,
so that's going to be a key thing to say here. We want to know what you think. Because a really important part of this campaign is to listen to people. And so we probably want to let them know that right off the bat. So sometimes people will say, also at that point, another reaction is if they really don't want to talk to you, that's when you're going to find out. I really don't have time today, or I'm sick, or I'm just not in agreement with you. If they make it clear to you at that point that they really don't want to talk to you, that's the point where you would just say, well, thank you very much. Could I leave some information with you? And that's where you would hand out our little packet. Just say, could I leave some information with you? If they make it very clear they don't want to talk to you, just say, ask if you could leave some information, and then you're going to move on. Okay, so let's go to step 2, which is ask about their personal experience. So everybody just take a second, read through that, and again, think about in your mind what it is you're going to say. You can say it in your own head. And that's pretty quick and easy. So I'm going to have everybody turn to the person next to them, say your introduction, and go ahead and go through step 1 and 2. So we're going to go ahead and move on to step 3, where we're going to ask people if they could share. Actually, this is the point where you have listened to their story, or maybe they didn't have a story. Maybe they said, I don't really know very much about that. I've got coverage. Things are good in my life. So at that point, then is your chance to share a story, and why. It's sort of the stories that all of you told in the introduction. Everybody here had a compelling reason why we're doing this. And this is the point now where you're going to share that story. So at step 3, think back to the story you told. I heard some new stories today that I hadn't heard before that are really compelling reasons, especially your story about your doctor who they won't hire because they don't want to cover the healthcare benefits. That just seems unbelievable. Okay, so this is the point where if after they've shared a story, or if they are still standing and they're interested but they don't have a story to share, this is where you share your compelling story about why this is important. So that's step 3. So now we're going to move on to step 4. So again, I encourage you to try to stick to the script and read it if you can't remember everything, but highlight the parts that you know you really want to say when you get there. Just maybe turn to your neighbor and practice those lines with each other. So from there you're gonna just pretty much move right into step 5, which is asking them to sign the statement of support. So each team will have this clipboard with them, which I encourage the person who's doing the talking to hold this clipboard. And the main things you're gonna have in your hand are your clipboard and your script. So I typically would have my script like this. And when I ask them, would you sign the statement of support of Oregonians who support healthcare for all, I'm going to pull out my script, and then I'm going to ask them to sign this. So this is what we're asking them to sign at the top. And I think everybody's got a copy of this page in their pile if you want to take a look at what we're asking them to sign. Because they will be asking, well, what is it you're asking me to sign? So it says at the top, and we've enlarged the font so that it's easier for people to read what it is we're asking them to sign. And we only have actually 2 spaces per page. So this is one person here, and this is the next person there underneath. The main information we really want is their name, their email and their email address. If they can give us their phone number, some people might not want to give their phone number, but if we could at least get their name, address, and email, then we have a way to contact them. So I think those are the main things. If people are sort of hesitating, trying to fill it out, you can say, well, we'd really like your name and your email address. If you're comfortable giving us your phone number and your home address, that would be great. You don't have to spend a lot of time. If they say yes, then you'll say, okay, well, here we've got a script for you. Our legislators for this area are Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, and our House representative is Pete DeFazio. By the way, Pete DeFazio has actually already signed on to all of this, but we're thanking him for doing that. Jeff Merkley has also signed on. The person who has not signed on is Ron Wyden. So if they're saying, yeah, I'd contact them, you could say, well, probably the most important person for you to contact right now is Ron Wyden, because he's not signed on to Medicare for All. And we really would like to encourage him to create a Senate bill that's similar to the House bill that would enable states to create their own single-payer healthcare system. The one other thing that I want to go over is that on your sign-up sheet, because this came up last time, there's a section of your form that has little boxes right here where we're asking people to sign up. And I want to explain what those are. So this first box where it says question 1, healthcare, what the EXP stands for is experience. So at the point in your conversation with somebody, if they say, oh yeah, I have a healthcare experience, my daughter such and such, and they have a story to tell, right there, you're just going to circle yes. They had a story to share. Where it says Q2A, support list. Yeah, but I believe the point of that is if they're a person with a compelling story to share,
we want to know that because we might want to get a hold of them later. They might be somebody that, you know, could be a really good advocate or have a story that we might want to video to share with other people. So I think that's the point of that. The second one is, are they willing to sign up on the list? That will be pretty obvious because they'll say yes and they'll fill in the blanks. The third question, are they willing to contact their legislator? You might not know. If they say, yeah, I can do that, then just circle yes. If they say, well, I'll need to read more, you could just put a question mark in that blank. So that's if they're willing to contact their legislator. And then the last box is if it's very obvious to you that this is a person who is a Spanish speaker, you could offer them, would you like copies of information in Spanish? And just put a yes on that if they say they do. And that's why it would be important to put a yes and maybe a note, please mail this to them. And maybe make sure that you get their mailing address. If they say, yeah, I'd really like some information in Spanish. When people ask, well, what are you going to use this information for? What does this go to? So what you can tell them is that this will go on a list for both, actually for all these organizations, National Nurses United, Healthcare for All Oregon, and Mid-Valley Healthcare Advocates of grassroots supporters for a healthcare for all system. And what it means is that we will contact them when we have information to share. Because I actually would like to go to pair up and maybe spend about 10 minutes just practicing the whole thing. What's everybody's comfort level with practicing for the next 10 minutes with a partner and actually going through the process and thinking things through, and then going out to canvas? Be back here at about 12:45 for about a 15-minute debrief. Okay, so I'm going to recommend then that the person who's holding the clipboard basically carry the clipboard and their script. And then the person that's helping will hold the other information to hand out. And so these ones that are stapled are the ones you'll just, if you can just roll them up like this, just leave it right in the doorway. You know, like between the doorknob and the door frames. Or if that doesn't work, you could just lay it on the doorstep. So the person who's not holding the clipboard has to stay organized because you're also going to be holding these pages, which are the contact your legislator pages. Okay, thanks everybody. We want to talk about your experiences while you were out talking to people, especially information from people that were very interested or who had stories, but we also want to know what information you got from the people who didn't want to sign or weren't interested. But all right, so I need to get back your the sign-up sheets that you got while you were out canvassing that have people's information. Okay, and then the second thing I want to do is make sure that I get your neighborhood map back. And if you could just show me which houses that you went to.
Well,
Where's the last
on
house
my
you
map,
visited?
the way I noted it is I put an X or a check mark on every house that we went to. And then I noted the street address of the last house that I went to, and I noted the date of the canvassing as well.
All right.